are recording. It works. I think I'm going to start recording my Dharma talks um, because we have people who can't attend and who want to attend, and I keep forgetting to do it. So what I did was on my computer, I put a note saying record. Very, very convenient note. Okay, good reminder. How this happened, how this Dharma talk arose, this topic arose was I had a conversation with another priest in our order, um, uh, who's part of Shoji's lineage. Um, she commented on a video I did on Facebook about how to do sumi art, and I just did that the other day. It was a live thing. Um, and she thought she likes to do art, and she wanted to would like to. She said she'd like to have some time to talk about how to do it or something like that. And I offered to teach her, give her some lessons and things like that. And she asked, "Well, what does she need?" And I spent some time researching what kinds of brushes and inkstone and ink sticks she would need, what kind of paper, and I found them on Amazon and forwarded her links to those products and so forth. And she wrote back saying something about being the gratitude, her gratitude for me doing that stuff. And I said to her, "Well, what precept does that cover? What precept is that?" And I'm not saying it's a precept that I enacted. I'm just asking what precept is involved in this exchange. And she came back with number 8. And I thought that was really good because she got it. She understood uh, what had happened. What had happened is, as a priest and as a practitioner, if you take those vows, that particular vow. Let me do this here. Let me see. Share screen. Click on that one. Click share. Um, if you at the top of this, it says a precept worth reviewing. And do not be stingy, especially with the Dharma. Now, for the lay practitioner, that's an important, just like for anybody, that's an important precept. But it has a slightly different, um, not application, but I guess intensity for a priest. Um, our lives are not our own uh, when we become a priest. Uh, and to some extent, as a lay practitioner, if you take these vows are to be manifested. They're to be you in your everyday life. Um, it how do I say this? The opposite of stingy is generous. Okay, so generosity is the hallmark of this particular precept, which kind of goes back to the first precept, which is dana paramita, or the first paramita, dana paramita. Uh, Generosity is a hallmark, perhaps even the bedrock of the Buddha way. It is the Buddha way. And and that ties into the discussion you just had regarding that little poem about self falling away. Um, the self falls away in the sense that the ego falls away, that your attachment to yourself falls away, that the attachment to your money and your objects, your products, whatever you have, falls away, and we become tools for assisting others in achieving some level of awakening. Uh, and that's as that the Buddha himself would say, if it's not in service to your awakening, then it's not the right path. It's not the right action. Every action should be in service to someone's awakening. Um, and that awakening has to do with dropping away body and mind. has to do with becoming selfless and becoming much more focused on the community, on your family, on the nation, on things outside of or larger than yourself. Uh, so we're to give of ourselves freely. As a priest, that's particularly difficult in a sense because I take that to mean that no matter what time of day you call me or text me, I need to be there for you. Uh, Even if it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and you call, I will answer the phone if I'm able. I will answer the phone and we will talk. We will involve ourselves in whatever's going on that you need to talk to me about. Uh, and it doesn't matter whether I'm tired or I have something else to do or my wife is pissed off that somebody called or whatever. My life is, as a priest, is to be generous, is to not be stingy, especially with the Dharma. We're to give of ourselves freely. It is our life to be in service. Next point. It's our life to be in service. One of the things I've been reading about lately in terms of meaning, and we talked about that last on Monday, is that meaning, our lives should be uh, filled with the intent to do good, the intent to bring about happiness in the world. Um, so our intent should be generosity and compassion. Our intent and our actions should be to be in service to others, following that third pure precept, to bring about abundant good for all beings. Um, and that can't be understated. It has to be, in fact, it needs to be overstated. A priest is full time, no exceptions. That's a hard one because of what I just said about calls in the middle of the night or whatever. Uh, our our obligation is to our sangha, and past that, our obligation is to our local community, is to our state, maybe our nation, a larger organization. Um, no exceptions. I've been a priest since a transmitted priest. Let me see. Since when is it? December 10th of the year 2000. That's when I got this brown robe. So what is that? It's like 21 years or something like that. In that 21 years, many things have happened. Uh, I, I got a divorce, uh, mostly because my wife at the time couldn't stand the fact I was a priest. She needed to be number one, and she was no longer number one. My priesthood was number one. Yeah. I was a full-time priest, and that was that. Now that doesn't mean that you ignore your family as a Buddhist priest or as a lay person who's taken these precepts. It doesn't mean you ignore them, but it does mean that you need to look at your priorities in terms of your vows. Okay? In terms of your vows. And this is where a kind of utilitarian ethics can come into play. What's going to bring about the most good over bad for all concerned in terms of an ethical choice or a moral choice? Um, and who or what is central to your mind and your heart at the time. So let's say my wife is sick and she needs me to be present, and then one of you calls me. The relative value or I would prioritize that in a way that would put my wife first and you second, because my priesthood also extends to her. And her need far outweighs your need to talk to me about the third precept, okay, or whatever the case may be. In her case, it could be life threatening. It could be something that's extremely painful, or whatever. My focus would be on her because I'm a priest, and it just coincidentally a husband and a partner. I don't know if that's making sense to you or not, but so the other thing to consider is that everything in our everyday life is practice, is an opportunity to practice. It's a practice opportunity, as I say. Everything in our lives, even the smallest little thing. This morning, student Jeff and I were talking, and it became somewhat heated, I will say. And the moment um, for me was an opportunity for me to practice something. Now, maybe I didn't practice it exactly so during the moment, but I stepped back after we finished talking and student Jeff left and looked at my own response to his thoughts and comments and realized that much of my stuff was about holding on to a belief that I had and attaching myself to that belief. Now, whether the belief is true or not true is almost irrelevant. It's a question of how open was my mind at the time. How deeply could I listen to what he had to say? And at that time, not very deeply. So my practice at this point is to um, open my heart and mind more when we're talking together, to understand his point of view um, more clearly, and without me filtering my own shit in it. Now that's an act of generosity. You understand? That's an act of generosity because what I'm doing is I'm giving up my own thing for the sake of more deeply understanding the other. Now, the other thing is why, especially with the Dharma, in that vow, it says especially with the Dharma. Why, especially with the Dharma? You can answer if you like. Well, especially with the Dharma. Why is the Dharma so damn special?
Uh, First, I thank you for your reflection on our discussion this morning, and I don't I don't perceive you as closed minded as you might have been. Why is the Dharma so special, though? Is something I went in circles with Dashin for a while because I was concerned that if we're going to be generous in all things to begin with, why is the Dharma special? And in such, it's if you're living it, it's not because it's everything. If it's something that can be seen and hold or presented, then it's something very special because it's otherwise being shared. When you're experiencing it, though, it's not. It is just. So it's special when it can be shared.
Anybody else have a thought?
Like the especially with the Dharma, the to me the Dharma is instructions on how to get free of my own head, to, at least in part. And there's a there definitely seems to be priority on sharing it. to free more beings, or to help other beings, help more beings become free. So that's probably one of the first things that we should be generous with. If this is a creed that we're trying to follow, if these are instructions we're trying to follow, if they're important to us.
Okay. That's a good point, I think. Both of you made good points. It's as the third pure precept suggests, when we take that vow to bring about abundant good for all beings, one understanding of that vow is not about, is how do we understand abundant good? And in some translations, abundant good has to do more with bringing that person to a place of awakening. So the vow is to be in service to the awakening of other people, or to bring them, to create conditions within which they will become awake. So when you talk about especially the Dharma, one aspect of the Dharma is the direct experience of reality. We don't want to be stingy with that at all. That's like a starting point, if you will. So especially with the Dharma, to me means don't be greedy, especially with reality. With your direct experience of reality, with the direct experience, the assisting others in becoming able to see directly their own nature, their true nature, and so forth. Especially with the Dharma, it's kind of something like Jeff is prone to say, unless you start out a certain way, everything else is cockeyed. You know, you have to be clear from the beginning. So these precepts, or this particular precept, should not be taken lightly, nor should the others, because it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of work, a lot of inner work, a lot of reflection, a lot of willingness to be honest and truthful in yourself and in relation to yourself and others. So the why, especially to the Dharma, all in a sense relates back to all the teachers and ancestors that have gone before us, all the way back to the Buddha's original teaching. What was he going to teach? Remember his direct experience, that Rahatsu morning, when he saw the morning star. It was a clear, complete, unexcelled awakening moment. And the rest of his life was spent teaching ways to experience that. And so the teachings of those practices we consider the Dharma. But it's rather kind of like the finger pointing to the moon thing. It's we give instruction on how you can do this yourself. Not that I'm going to do it for you, but how you can do it for yourself. So the Dharma, in this sense, is a teaching about how do you as the other get to a place of awakening, and so forth. Okay, the last one though is it is rarely encountered. We are fortunate. What does that that say? That chant we do. What we do a chant, don't we? When we open up the sutra book, or we do a tesho or something, what do we chant? The Dharma is incomparably profound and minutely subtle. It is rarely encountered in hundreds of thousands of millions of kalpas. You can now see it, hear it, and hold it. It's a rare occurrence to be in the presence of a practice or be invited into a practice that will help you see the oneness of everything and see see directly your own true nature. That is a rare thing. Consider the population of the world and how many of that population have encountered the Dharma or the teachings in a way that they're open to them. Now, lots of people have experienced what some people think of as Zen or meditation or any of those kinds of things, erroneously framed, I might add, but nonetheless, there they are. So they have some colloquial understanding of what being awake means or practice means or Zen means and those kinds of things. But mostly they're wrong. They're overly simplistic and rather sophomoric, frankly. This is an incredibly profound thing. So it's profound, and it's an incredibly subtle thing. The subtlety has to do, I think, in one way, has to do with the fact that we let ourselves fall away. We are in service to the world. And those experiences are quite subtle. Sometimes they even go unnoticed by ourselves. We simply do them. Like you call, I simply answer the phone or answer the text on the computer if I am there and can do it at the time. That's a very subtle thing. It's not big, it's small. Okay, so we're almost out of time here. My goodness, that 25 minutes went by pretty quickly. Any thoughts on this this precept, this commentary?
Hey, Roshi, if you'll pardon me for interjecting, that rarely found before you introduced that point, I was thinking it was relating to generosity. I mean, generosity, and maybe in the Donna sense, is rarely found, and we're fortunate that we are able to give it. That's probably the wrong verb. So that's how it was looking to me, and that was that was interesting.
Well, it's true. The Dharma that's rarely encountered is encapsulated or manifested through the paramitas, through Dana paramita, patience, perseverance, the morality, meditation, and wisdom. So I think we have to. This is kind of getting back to that discussion we just had in the prior hour. We have to take a view that's a much larger view, a big picture view, to see how all these little things interconnect and interrelate. That they're not separate, even though we treat them as if they are. They're really not. To manifest the Dharma would be to manifest generosity, would be to manifest patience and all the other things in the process of being totally present. In the process of being totally present. We can't do those things unless we're willing to let our ideas about an experience or about a person fall away. Okay? Well, because if we keep them, we're not really seeing the person. We're seeing a projection that we're putting on that person based on our experiences of people of that race, perhaps, or of that culture, or whatever. We put out these filters that allow us to change in effect, change our perception of the person in front of us. The Dharma is to work to remove those lenses so we can see directly what's in front of us clearly and purely. Okay. Any other thoughts or questions on this brief little half-hour Dharma talk?
You know, Sensei, I was just thinking as you were talking, especially from my position as a priest, this all of a sudden becomes the toughest of all the precepts to uphold. The it makes not killing things seem not killing and not stealing seem simple by comparison.
Yeah, I think that's true. We can't be, we're vowing not to be stingy, especially with ourselves, because ourselves is the Dharma. All right. Well, thank you very much for your attendance this evening. My intent was to shake you up a little bit and have you really start to look at this particular precept in terms of how you function in the world. Are you functioning for yourself? Or are you functioning for others? Where's your heart? Where's your mind? Again, thank you so much, and I will see you when I see you. Be good to yourselves now. And I guess there's got to be a way to shut off this.
Click up top,
here.
go to the view options, yeah, and close it there, yeah.
Okay. And the sharing, I mean, the recording.
Thank you, Sensei Dashin, the class, and thank you, Sensei Roshi, for the Dharma talk.
You're
Be
welcome.
well, thank you.
Take care of yourselves, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Whenever you end this, I'll end the recording part. Take care.